Don't do it. Run. Be a stripper.
It can be so much and so stressful. It's like 12 hours of just running. 12 hours is just running around. And I remember during like the sixth week of orientation, sixth week, that's more than a month. And I talked to one of the other girls and I was like, how you feeling? And she was like, I cried today. And I felt that. I understood her. I mean, I didn't cry that same day because I can't display that kind of emotion around people I don't know, but I understood where she was coming from because I was overwhelmed too. I don't think people talk a lot about like how many mistakes you make when you're new, or feeling like you don't know what you're doing, or feeling overwhelmed and stressed out, or the imposter syndrome, and like how that first few months of being new to this place and having to be responsible for those patients feels. It's really going to be trial and error. These are some of my tips to give you, but you're gonna learn your own way of how you do things. My first tip is to come in early. Like, come in 30 to 45 minutes early so that you can look up all your patients and write notes on them so that you know what you're getting into for that day and who your patients are and what their past medical history is. You're gonna get a report on those patients, but just come in early so you have an idea of what's gonna go on. If you are not good at drawing blood or placing an IV and you're new, that's okay. You're new. Like, no one just becomes a nurse and is great at placing an IV. Those things are going to come with practice, and they come with time and doing it over and over and over again. So with that, I want to say, do not always give that task to another nurse. Try to do it yourself more often so that you do get better at it. If you're always constantly asking another nurse to help you place an IV, or to help you draw blood, or to help you hold the vial, you're never going to be able to use your hands and get that dexterity that nurses have. You know, like, nurses work like they have like 4 different hands. It's crazy. So whenever you have a blood draw or you have to place an IV and you're on orientation, once you kind of get the hang of it, instead of always asking another nurse to come in with you, hey, can you hold this piece while I stick the IV, or can you do this? Try to get used to doing it yourself. Even if you're so afraid, you're not going to stop being afraid until you do it more often. That's what I had to do. I would like go into the room, even though I'm a little nervous. The patient asks me, oh, how long have you been a nurse? But like, I've been a nurse for a while. Do they know what a while is? Even 1 week is considered a while if you think about the time span of time. Like, they don't know what you mean as far as time goes. So place the IV and get all your materials, go in by yourself, tell the patient that you have to get blood from them. Even if you're having a little bit of trouble or you're nervous about not finding the vein, feel for the vein and go in. Try it. If you don't get it right, okay. Don't get blood return, okay. Is it the end of the world? No. Pull out the IV, put the gauze on the patient, say, oh, I didn't get the IV, I'm gonna call another nurse to come in and help me out with this. But the thing is with that is that you tried, so you got that little bit of experience. Every time you do it, you're gonna learn from the last time. You're gonna be like, oh, last time I went in like this and that wasn't a good angle. Or, oh, when a patient has more like meat on their arm, I should probably use the hand to place the IV. You're gonna learn more the more you do it, so do it. My second tip is to consolidate your tasks. This word consolidation, like, that's all they say at my job, like, consolidate, put everything together so you're not running around from the med room to the patient's room to the supply closet to all over the place. So what I mean by consolidation is, like, if you know that you have a patient that has their 10 a.m. meds due and they need a blood culture done and they need a nasal cannula and they need a COVID swab done, instead of going in and out of that room, go into that room and do everything at once. Do their meds, do their blood draws, and have all the tools that you need when you're going into that room. As soon as you saw that you needed to do a lab draw, get all your materials and go into the room. Consolidating your tasks is gonna save you time and steps, so you don't have to run back and forth all the time. Oftentimes when you're giving medications, such as like with your 10 a.m. med pass, if you're working in a hospital setting, you will be able to give a medication either 1 hour before it's due or an hour after it's due. So if you have a 10 a.m. med pass, make sure you start your med pass at 9. You go from one patient to the next patient to the next patient. And make sure you pulled your medications that you need for your 10 a.m. med pass at around like 8:30. You want to pull all your medications before 9 a.m. so that you have them in your cart and you're ready. As soon as 9 a.m. hits, you start your med pass so you're not late or overdue with your medications, because you giving a medication late is going to make the next dose for the next shift late, because they're always going to have to push back that medication. So try to get your medications done on time. Another thing with medications is always look at the last time your med was given. It doesn't matter if they scheduled especially with narcotics and antihypertensives, always look at the last time that medication was given, especially with antibiotics or narcotics or very time-sensitive medications. Look at, it doesn't even matter if it says it's scheduled for right now, check when it was given last, because you might be giving it too close to the last dose, and that could cause the patient to, depending on the medication, to bottom out, or their blood pressure to drop, or whatever the medication does, and you could be doing the wrong thing. Always check when the last dose was given. You don't want to give too much of a dose of medication to a patient, because it's on you. You could also move your medication dose to another time. Chart not given, not appropriate at this time. Always check that the medication should be given at this time. My nurse manager would tell me, even if it says it's due right now, the last medication was given at this time. And everybody's computer system at their work job is different, but at my job, it's not going to change the next dose. So we have to change the next dose, because it's nonsense. And as for medications, when you're doing your med pass, make sure you know the medications that you're going to give to your patient. You don't want to pop all of the pills, have them in the little cup, and then say here, and your patient's like, what is that? What is that? What are you giving to me? Make sure you know each med that you're giving, because some patients are very specific and they want to know what meds, what am I getting? Oh, I don't usually take that black pill. What is that? Tell them their list of meds and what they're doing. And if you don't know what a medication is doing, this is not nursing school anymore. You can look up the med. Google is on the computer. I would turn the computer a little around, because you don't want to show the patient that you're Googling stuff. But turn your computer and Google, oh, this is gabapentin. It is for nerve pain or seizures, or whatever the patient needs that medication for. So know your medications before you give it to the patient, because a lot of times the patient is going to ask and you want to look like you know what you're doing. Look like you know what you're doing. Even if you don't, you will learn what you're doing. Another thing is, make sure you ask questions. This should have been first on the list. Don't be afraid to ask another nurse for help, or to ask somebody a question if you don't know something, because it could save you your license and a patient. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know, someone else is going to know, and if they don't know, they'll ask the nurse manager to help you out. You don't want to make a mistake, because once you give a medication or once you inject something into somebody, you can't take it back. They digested it. So you really want to be careful and make sure you ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. And another tip I have is to make sure you get your charting done early. When you're a new nurse, charting is going to it took me hours. It would take me 3 hours to chart, because I would just sit there, and it just takes a long time when you're new. You're going to get into your own flow of things. I always tell people, make sure you get your charting done early, because you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the day. You don't know what's going to get thrown at you for the rest of the day. So if you get your charting out of the way early, if a rapid happens, or you have a fall, or you want to be able to focus on that instead of having to chart. But you're going to have to chart regardless, because it's mandatory. So make sure you get your charting done early in the morning. I try to get my charting done early after I do my 10 a.m. meds, because I've already came in, I've got report, I've looked at all my patients, and I've assessed everybody. I did my 10 a.m. med pass. Now I can chart on the patient. After the 10 a.m. med pass, chart. And I chart and chart and chart until I'm done, and then I'll take a break, a 30-minute break, a lunch break. Another thing I wanted to say is ask the CNAs and RNs for help. So this is supposed to be a team effort. So if you need a set of vitals done on a patient before they go off the unit for something, or if you need somebody's blood sugar checked and you're busy and you're running around and you have a lot going on, you can ask the CNA, hey, can you please go into so-and-so's room and take a blood sugar on him and let me know. Like, or if you're really drowning and you're behind on a couple of things and there's another nurse like around, you can ask her, hey, can you please help me place this IV on this patient if you have time? Or like if you're a new nurse and you're on orientation, you can do that. But I don't recommend always asking another nurse to place an IV on you, especially if you're a new nurse, because you want to get that practice and you want to learn how to do it yourself. I'll get into that later. But if you really need help with something, or if you have a question about something, ask another nurse, ask a CNA, make sure it's within their job scope, and ask a nurse, hey, this medication, am I allowed to give it IV push? There's so many mistakes I made. Like if I had just asked before I had done it, it wouldn't have even happened. But make sure that oh, they got an RV? Oh, wow, that's cool. Sorry, I'm looking at my neighbor's house. Well, I would say make sure that you ask a nurse if you have a question. You can avoid a lot just by asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Another thing I wanted to say is make sure you bring in a lunch or bring money to buy lunch. That's gonna run up your pockets, so be careful with that. But bring in lunch and take your lunch break. You can't just run around for 12 hours straight. It's not good for you, and you're going to get burnt out and you're going to start to dislike your job. You can't take care of other people unless you've taken care of you. So make sure you take your break. Get something good to eat. If you need to get like something to wake you up a little bit, get some Starbucks downstairs if you have a Starbucks in your hospital. Another big tip I want to say, bring a second set of uniform with you and put it in your locker, put it in your book bag. I always have like another pair of like scrubs in my book bag because like anything can happen. You could be drawing blood, and especially when you're new, anything can happen. You could be drawing blood and you slip and like the blood gets on you, or if you're helping a CNA change a patient, if they're heavy, or you're just helping the CNA, you can get stuff on you. You get feces on you and stuff like, and it could be so gross. So accidents happen. Make sure you put a second set of uniform or a sweater or something in your locker so that you can change out if anything, in case of anything. Oh, accidents happen. Don't get overwhelmed too fast. Don't feel like you don't belong or feel like you shouldn't be doing this. If you did not belong there, they would not have hired you. So be patient with yourself. Hope these tips helped anybody who is a new nurse right now and is kind of struggling, or anybody who's graduating soon, or yeah, I don't know. These are things that I just wish somebody kind of told me. Oh, another thing is don't talk about your personal life. I mean, I don't know how close like everybody's different. Everyone is a different person. I'm not telling you not to be who you are. But I think maybe just me personally, I kind of separate like work from like personal life. Yeah, you can laugh and talk and whatever, but if you keep your relationships to like work and you don't bring it outside of work, it will always remain professional. Kind of, not always. It doesn't matter. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching.